Hey guys, it's me, Paulie Gecko. This is my studio in Halifax. By studio I mean a bedroom. Today I want to show you how to use a technique I call preverb on vocals or other instruments to create a spooky vibe or to allow the vocals to come in less abruptly. I don't know if you can hear that train, but I live next to train tracks, so super. I first heard this technique in a song by John Frusciante called Dark/Light. It felt like the vocals were starting before the singing started, and I was just really fascinated at why he chose to do that and how he accomplished that. Rewind a few years, I'm actually pretty sure I figured out the solution to this on my own. Humble brag. But it wasn't until another YouTuber named Multiplier, I'm saying another YouTuber like I'm famous or something, but it wasn't until Multiplier called it preverb, as in like reverb, but before. And that's when I started calling it preverb. The technique seems like a lot of steps and it seems kind of complicated, but actually once you get into the software and do it, it's super, super easy. So here's what you do. You take your vocal track or whatever you want to apply this to and reverse it. Once it's reversed, add a reverb. Now print that track to a new channel. So now you have a reverse vocal channel with reverb. So now all you do with that reverse channel is reverse it again. And because you added reverb when the sample was reversed, now that reverb occurs before the original signal would have started. Makes sense? I don't know. I don't know if I would have understood that. It's a little bit weird. But anyway, let's go into Logic right behind me. Nice. And I'll show you how to do this because it's actually really easy.
Okay, so we're here in Logic. I've created two channels here of the exact same signal. I'm just going to mute this one for now so it's not doubled up, but we'll use that as a reference later. The other one, this is what we're actually going to use to make the preverb. So like I think I said, it's important to use dry or mostly dry audio for this, just so you're not stacking reverbs on top of reverbs on top of reverbs. Mine actually does have a little bit of reverb and delay, but not enough to make a world of difference, but in a perfect world it would have none. So in most DAWs, if you reverse an audio file like this one, it reverses that segment of audio anywhere it appears in your project. So what I've done is just taken this one and bounced it down to like a new audio track. It's the same sounds, but as far as Logic is concerned, it's a different audio file. So we're able to mess around with this one and it won't affect the original. So let's give this a listen just so you know what we're working with.
I got the call, began it all in Montreal, in Montreal.
So cool, right on. Shamelessly promoting my own music. Big fan of that. It's a song called Montreal, right on. So let's just go ahead and reverse that. It's pretty simple to do. Logic, you can double click it. It opens up this editor window and we just make sure we're on the file tab and go functions, reverse. Pretty easy enough. Actually in Ableton, which is another great DAW, it's even easier. There's a rev button in the channel when you click an audio file, so it's really, really easy. So now that this is reversed, we're going to pop on a reverb. There's a lot to consider here when you're popping on a reverb. The longer the reverb tail, the more noticeable the preverb will be in your track. That's an important thing to remember. Honestly, a lot of this is trial and error. When I was working on Montreal, I spent a lot of time applying a reverb, bouncing it, and realized it was too long, and redoing it, and then shortened it, and realized it was too far the other way. So now I have a preset I created for TrueVerb for Montreal. Not that it'll work on every track, but it worked well for Montreal at least. So I'm going to pop that on here. Just going to go to Audio Effects and load on a TrueVerb words. And great, so we can see that, a bunch of cool stuff there, nerd numbers and things. So I'm just going to go load, open preset file. I've got that saved right here conveniently for video convenience. Awesome. Open. So that loaded that on here. So a couple things you can see here. First, I'm cutting the directional and early reflection signals so you can hear more of actually the pure reverberations over here. Also importantly, the room size is pretty big, so it creates a feeling of a big space and doesn't dissipate early. I'm also cutting some of the low frequencies out here because as you increase the room size, those frequencies really start to build up and clutter the song. So let's take a listen to this now that we've reversed it and added reverb. Also, listening to reversed audio is cool, so there's that. So that gives you kind of just an idea of like that eerie, ghosty kind of feeling. So now we're going to bounce this down again to a new audio track. And this ensures that when we go to reverse it again, we're not reversing this part. So we're just going to bounce this in place. Every DAW has a different way to do this, but we're just going to bounce it down. Super. So now we can see the reverb is printed. That's an old audio file when they used to print stuff to tape, but you can actually see on the audio file that the reverb is built into this audio now instead of being a plugin on this one. So we're going to mute this old channel. We don't want to hear that right now. And now we're going to reverse this one again. So the reverb will occur before the audio, and the vocals will be in the proper orientation. So the same idea, you go to File, Functions, Reverse, and booyah, let's take a listen. Yeah, pretty cool. Eerie and all that stuff. I originally used this in Montreal not for the spooky aspect as much, but more because the vocals felt like they were coming in too abruptly. So I used this to kind of smooth it out and let the audience know, like, okay, here come the vocals. I also wanted to show you what this would be like with something other than a reverb on here. Of course, you can mess around with different reverbs, but I thought I would make it a little bit more interesting. So I've also made a couple other tracks here. So I've made one here. This is echo and the reverb on this track. So we can take a listen to that here. I got the call. You can't all. In Montreal. In Montreal. So that's using the same reverb setting as well as a plugin called Crystallizer by Soundtoys, which is a super trippy granular echo plug. So that's neat. There's also this one, which is just delay. This is, I think, a quarter note delay with Replica by Native Instruments, which is absolutely by far my favorite delay. I got it for free for Christmas from Native Instruments like 3 years ago and literally am obsessed with it. So that's cool. And take a listen to this one. This is the delay, quarter note.
I got the call. Began it all.
So a totally different feeling, right? But maybe in one song you want that feel. You want that like kind of staggery, steppy kind of delay. The last step you have to do with this, which is a little bit of manual labor, is you have to manually move these around. When you're reversing audio files, they tend to lose their place in the project. So you have to just move it around a little bit until you get it in the right place. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, but it is the price of admission. And that is Preverb. Thanks for watching.
So as you can see, that's a cool and easy technique to use in your projects. I encourage you to give it a shot. It only takes a couple of clicks, and like you might have to find where the preverb should actually start in the project. That's kind of the only manual labor involved. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video on Preverb. This has been my creepy studio at night. I'm Polygecko, and I'll see you in the next video.